Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and I've been covering the Jacksonville Jaguars for On SI every single day since August 2019, and we are continuing to move forward through a new offseason together. All right, folks, today we are going to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars and the franchise tag. Free agency is fewer than 40 days away from today. The Jacksonville Jaguars have big decisions to make. They obviously have two major pieces set to be free agents in Devin Lloyd and Travis Etienne. They have some other guys, Buster Brown, Greg Newsome. It's pretty obvious that if you're going to talk about the franchise tag for the Jaguars, you need to talk about which players, you're considering for. They're not going to consider it for Buster Brown. $21.41 million. Regardless of how much they like Buster Brown, I mean, they're not franchise tagging Buster Brown. So that's a non-negotiable. The only players who I think are the quality of players who normally get the franchise tag would be Devin Lloyd and Travis Etienne. And when it comes to the franchise tag, unfortunately for the Jaguars in this scenario, the NFL is absolutely ridiculous. Off-ball linebackers do not get franchise tagged. It just does not happen. From what I can find, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I misresearched, since 2011, almost 16 years, the only off-ball linebacker to get franchise tagged was Chad Greenway, who got franchise tagged for over $9 million and then signed a 4-year, $51 million contract that gave him $8-point-something million per year. Today, not 2011, 15 years later, today, if the Jaguars were to franchise tag Devin Lloyd at linebacker, that tag is projected to cost, and I quote, $28,197,000. It is the third highest franchise tag projected value. Obviously, those numbers aren't out and finalized yet, but it's fairly easy, for places to project what they might be. Quarterback has the highest franchise tag at $47.3 million. Then wide receiver at $28.8 million. And not even $1 million below it is linebacker. I mean, $28 million. He would have a bigger cap hit than Trevor Lawrence, than Josh Hines-Allen, who are the two highest paid players in the entire history of the franchise. And the fact that the franchise tag for off-ball linebackers in 50 years has gone up nearly $20 million, not nearly, $20 million, $20 million, is absolute lunacy, from the NFL. I don't understand how they haven't fixed this. I don't understand how they haven't fixed it for Pro Bowl or All Pros either. It is mind-numbing how they don't just make pass rushers edge players and off-ball linebackers. If the NFL did that, then the franchise tag for Devin Lloyd would be somewhere in the $18 to $19 million range. That would be much more tolerable to consider. I'm still not positive they do it, but I think on that number, you at least kick the can around a little bit and think about it. At $28 million, you don't even think about it. It's not even an option. And it's because the NFL counts him as lumped into the same position group as TJ Watt, as Micah Parsons. It makes zero sense whatsoever. And it's not his fault. It's not the Jaguars' fault. But because of the NFL's ludicrous franchise tag system, the Jaguars franchise tagging Devin Lloyd would make him almost a $30 million player next season. That is not happening. It just isn't. You guys know me. I like to say never, because you truly do never know what's going to happen, especially in the world of the NFL, especially in the world of the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I feel extremely confident in saying the Jacksonville Jaguars will not place a franchise tag on Devin Lloyd for nearly $29 million. It's not fair for any party involved, but it's the simple truth. Jaguars' options with Devin Lloyd are re-sign him to a multi-year deal, likely extremely expensive, or let him walk in free agency and try to bet on getting a third-round comp pick. Now, there is the transition tag. That comes at $23.6 million. It's obviously less than the franchise tag. He'd still be the highest paid linebacker in NFL history by several million. I'm not sure that couple $1 million makes that much of a difference, because I'm not sure that they would pay him at the 17 to 18 to $19 million range he's probably going to get in free agency. So when it comes to the franchise tags, like I said, Devin Lloyd and Travis Etienne are the only guys that really make sense for. Doesn't really make sense for Devin Lloyd, though, does it? It doesn't. So they're not franchise tagging Buster Brown. They're not franchise tagging Devin Lloyd. I feel very confident in saying both of those. If I'm wrong, please take it up with me. Sue me. Now, that brings us up to Travis Etienne. And his tag numbers are very different. Running back has the lowest franchise tag and lowest transition tag of any non-special teamers. He has a franchise tag would be projected to cost $14.53 million, and transition tag is $11.72 million. Obviously, the transition tag, it's an easier number to stomach if you're the Jaguars. I think specifically on the transition tag, you consider it. If you're Jacksonville, you obviously have to clear some cap space to begin with. But if you feel like you're in a good spot with the cap space, I don't think they offer him a multi-year deal unless they can get him for like 3 years, $21 million, $22 million, which I don't expect. I think you'd have to give him more like 3 years, 31 or 32 million, maybe 35. So I think obviously it'd be ideal if the Jaguars are able to keep Travis Etienne. It'd be ideal if they were able to keep Devin Lloyd. But I think ultimately he will have also priced himself a bit outside the Jaguars' range. Again, I could be wrong. I'm less confident about that one than I am of maybe Devin Lloyd pricing himself out, because obviously Devin Lloyd will have a more robust market. I think the franchise tag, that's probably a little too rich, considering, they obviously like Bashal Tuten. They trusted a 4th and 7th round rookies on their active roster as running backs last year. So I think that they wouldn't shy away from, if they moved on from Etienne, drafting a rookie and adding him to the mix with Tuten and LaQuinn Allen. Ultimately, I think Etienne had a great season. Arguably, before Trevor Lawrence turned it on, he was the clear MVP of the offense. I think after the way Trevor Lawrence played, he probably takes that mantle. Etienne, for my money, is number 2. I thought it was the best and most decisive he's looked as a runner at the NFL level. And then it, of course, was easily the best he's ever looked as a pass catcher at the NFL level. So absolutely fantastic season. He, like Devin Lloyd, deserves everything that this offseason is set to bring him. And it's set to bring him an awful lot. But with that in mind, I think the franchise tag is just too rich there. Maybe you consider it a transition tag if they get the cap, the right space. But I think they probably want an even bigger role for Bashal Tuten next year. So are you giving Travis Etienne over $10 million this year while also expecting Tuten to cut into his reps more? I'm not sure how much sense that really makes. But the Jaguars feel like that they can't fully lean into the Tuten experience. If they feel like, they just, Etienne is the option they know, and that Etienne is who they want leading their backfield charge next season, then I think, the transition tag, that's an easy pill to swallow. And a franchise tag, much tougher, but Etienne is the only person that I think is really worth having a discussion over here. Because like I said, it's not going to be Buster. And Devin Lloyd, extremely unlikely, because the NFL makes very little sense. Thank you guys for listening. My name is John Shipley. We'll be back next time.